Well, welcome everybody to part 4 of our June online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center here in Powell River, BC. And this month's theme is on, well, what can you do if you don't believe in a higher power? Because as you probably have heard, particularly in AA and A, is the concept of in order to recover, you have to as the step says, turn your will, your life over to this higher power thing. But what happens if you don't believe in a benevolent higher power, a higher power who actually has your best interests at heart? Then you're kind of stuck. So the usual mantra is, well, fake it till you make it. But as I pointed out at the beginning of June, researchers at the University of New Mexico have shown that it may not work all that good. So, are you doomed? No, not really. Lots of good things you can do. And one of the things to appreciate is some of the finest geniuses, finest thinkers in the last 150 years have not believed in a higher power, or at least not believed in a benevolent higher power. They do believe there's a higher power, but it just could care less about you and me or anybody else. Could care less about human beings. And a lot of these thinkers, interestingly enough, have been drug addicts. Or if they haven't been drug addicts, they've at least written about drunkenness and addiction. I'm thinking of people like the great philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, and there's other people like Eugene O'Neill, of course, because it's me, it's got to be Eugene O'Neill. And they said to themselves, okay, if I don't believe in a higher power, this benevolent thing that's got my best interests at heart, well, what do I do? How do I live a meaningful life? What do I do that I can be moral and find fulfillment and everything? And I would say probably the most common thing that all these people tell us is to connect deeply with other people. And that connection may be with family, with lovers, with kids, with parents. It may be connecting deeply with friends. But it's the idea of connecting deeply with other human beings is actually the key. One of the most famous examples of this is a little known fact that a lot of clergy, a lot of pastors have addiction problems. And we used to think in the old days, well, maybe they had just lost their faith in God. And in fact, I've even read that in a few books. They actually make that argument. But the really good research is showing that this, in fact, is not the case. So one of the arguments they come up with is that what they have lost, what the pastors, what the clergy have lost, is the ability to connect deeply with other human beings, which may sound kind of odd because they interact with people constantly. But when they interact, it's never a level playing field. They're always put up, raised up above everyone else, because they are the person someone goes to when they have troubles. They are the person who has to provide the answers. And no one pays particular care whether they've had a big fight with their wife or they're suffering or anything else. And they always have to present an image to the world, because that's part of their job, is a role model. And so if they have a bad day, who can they talk to? It's not like there's a whole bunch of them that get together every day. And this is actually the argument used to explain addiction in the clergy, is the fact that they are actually isolated by virtue of their position in the community as being the leader of the congregation, by being the person that you always go to for death, or if you're in trouble, or for marriage, or for baptism. And so they're never considered sort of like one of the boys or one of the girls. So they've lost this connection. And as you all know, because it's me, it's Eugene O'Neill, of course, this was what he concluded after all of his 50 plays on that he wrote, mainly on addiction. So he concluded that if you don't believe in a benevolent higher power, the best way to find meaning, this personally meaningful life, is to connect deeply with other human beings. And as just to remind you, the guy did win 3 Pulitzer Prizes and a Nobel Prize, and that was even before he did his best work. So, anyway, that's our June program for the online, the Alumni Online production. And next month, July, we'll come up with a new topic and see you then.